Hello and welcome to the Move Me Brightly podcast. My name's Tom. I'm here with my co-host Blaine. Hi, Blaine.
Hello.
Together we have over 32 years of combined experience in the creative industry, and it hasn't been easy. We've had to put in long hours, climb the ranks, and do the jobs nobody wanted to do, all in hopes of one day living our dreams of living creative lives with creative careers. But what we discovered? Living the creative life you always wanted isn't all it's cracked up to be. Every day is full of inspiration, creative problem solving, and that can lead to burnout. This podcast explores the way in which top people in the creative industry move forward in a career they love while finding new ways to infuse creativity into their lives and work and keep that creative passion alive. Join us weekly as we have those conversations and walk away with nuggets we can all use to stave off burnout and continue to produce better and better work. And also just come hang out with us, because it's going to be fun.
You've touched on so many things that we've already either talked about in previous episodes or that I personally believe. I think the idea of limitations is hugely important. I know we had a musician, Derek Mount, on last week, and we were talking about the idea of deadlines, even self-imposed ones. Even if you don't really have a deadline in your life, but you tell yourself, like, this song is due by the end of today, it forces you to really work within those constraints to get an idea out there. I mean, you mentioned the idea of writing a haiku with no concept of what the haiku could be, and I just in my mind thought of, like, I cannot do this. This is way too difficult. I'll do something else. Like, that's what comes to my mind if you don't tell me, like, make something about something in particular, or have a structure around the idea you want to do. I also think in terms of burnout for you, it seems like you have a good handle on it, because I know for Blaine and myself, a lot of our energy is focused on one aspect of creativity. For me, it's filmmaking. For Blaine, it's either photography or painting. But it sounds like for you, even if, say, your main goal as an artist is to be a hip hop artist, you have your fingers in all of these other things, whether it's sculpture as a little kid, or writing essays, or painting, or doing whatever. Like, you have all these different avenues you can turn to when you get a little dried out in one aspect of your creativity, which I think is kind of the thesis of this entire podcast, is like, when you have a driving force behind your creativity, something that you become known for, become successful at, what other outlets do you turn to when you just can't look at that thing that day? When you're just like, the last thing I want to do is fucking lay some bars down. Like, I'm just not in the mood today. Today, I'm not feeling it, but you still have that itch of, I need to do something. I just know I don't want it to be that, because for whatever reason, I'm not in the mood, or I need a break. And so what else do you go to for that outlet? And it sounds like you have a really good perspective and passion in so many different fields that will help elevate, I think, your art on every aspect, from dipping your toes into all of those different worlds. And it also sounds like, you're very well read. You've gone into history, etymology that you talked about, which I love etymology. Like, I'm a huge fan of Latin and Greek root words, stuff like that. So that was very exciting to hear. And then the last thing I wanted to say is, you mentioned at the beginning of this, using other aspects of other people's art to inform your own a little bit. And I always go back to this book that Stephen King wrote, one of the most prolific authors in the world. And he wrote a book called On Writing, which is about his writing process. It's a really great book, one of the best books about the process of writing. And he describes your creative skill set as a toolbox. And as you age and as you learn more and more, you put these certain tools into that box that you're able to carry around with you now as an artist. And he says the most important thing above all is not even to write, but it's just to read. He said, if you want to be a really good writer and you're not reading books, you will never, ever, ever be a good writer, because you have to know what other people do well and what other people do poorly to really help inform your own style, your own language, and your flow. And if you don't have that context of the world around you, specifically the artistic world around you, you'll never develop a point of view that has uniqueness to it, because you won't really understand what people enjoy and what people don't enjoy if you're not already enveloped in that world. And I bring that up because you mentioned, before the incarceration stint and the wrongful conviction, you got really into hip hop after sculpting, and you started to get in the studio, make some songs, and even when you were dealing, you would, play for the trap houses and stuff like that. Who were the artists that really inspired you to become a rapper? Like what was the world of music out there that, like, not just that you could vibe to, but you were like, I'm really getting something larger out of this?
I think, just like what you said, hip hop, in my opinion, is one of the most diverse forms of music, because hip hop is like evolution. It's ever changing. Hip hop, you can beat on your chest somewhere. Somebody can play a guitar. We can intersect different genres, everything, So early on, it was just music. I think the first thing that really hit me was like that I remember the double Dutch bus coming down the street,
Yeah.
and I was like, man, that's a fun song. I'm little, and I'm bouncing. And then, as I started, so now I got this feeling, it's visceral. And art is visceral. So it's spirituality. It's how you feel. What feeling are we getting out of this? And I came at it from that feel. I'm like, oh, and then the words start to come to me with things I started to understand. I heard the Sugar Hill Gang, but it didn't resonate to me until I was old enough, around like 10. I'm listening to Ron DMC. I got some references. I'm like, oh, my Adidas. I'm like, I got Adidas, like I'm in this, and it just started to progress with other artists and even other genres. I love Queen, when I was coming up. I love Led Zeppelin. I mess with the Doors. I like blues, from BB King to Lil Milton. Also, growing up in Flint and Detroit, we had that Motown sound, so I had a taste of the Parliament, the Funkadelics. I had a taste of, Marvin Gaye or the Temptations, and, ironically, we had like a 8-track that was like at my house in the basement in Flint. And I had these tapes that I used to really listen to Grover Washington, right? Grover Washington, right? I'm like this. And I used to sit and mess with him, and I experiment. So as an artist, though, as I started to move around, what I did early on, I emulated the people that I liked, you know. So I was Ice Cube. Hey, look, I was Easy Lee. They used to call me Easy Lee. Uh, uh, I was like a Ice Cube at one time. I liked him. I was like uh a Cool G Rap, and being in Michigan, Flint, Michigan, we got everything. So it's not a mistake that we got Eminem, right? Because you get everything. So I'm battling that. I'm battling New York, the down south dudes, the West Coast, all at once, and we understand it. So looking at other people and seeing their response, it was very informing, for me with what I wanted. But like the main artist that really impacted me, my number one artist of all time is Tupac Shakur.
Hmm.
He came with the feeling, but it was artful. He come with the simile, but he came with the metaphor. He was bigger than just rap. See, I'm bigger than rap. I'm an artist. You can't fit LB 448 or Leon Benson just in rap. Oh, no, I'm bringing so much to the table. And that's what I seen with Tupac. He could act, right? So when I got to prison, I started doing like some acting. So I went to another artist, Shakespeare. I said, let me see what this Shakespeare guy is about. So I studied Shakespeare like 8, 9, 10 plays with a professor from Indiana State University, Dr. Laura Bates. And I was able to teach it. Then I did play adaptations. So I adapted what he was doing just like I did in rap. I'm like, oh, shit, I can do this. Oh, I'm gonna put my own style. I see where he going at. So I come up with these things as well as great readers, just like Stephen King said. Some of my greatest teachers were people of the past. Socrates. Or the authors of great sacred books like the Bible or even the Quran or even some of the Eastern traditions like Lao Tzu, I Ching, the Book of Changes, out of China. And these are all my mentors, and all of them pour into me because I want to build on what I lack that they have. And in the end, it can come out to a perfect balance of everything because that's completion. When it's balanced out just right, that you feel it. You like, oh man, this thing right here is for everybody. Or it can be for a specific person. So yeah, Tupac, my main artist, and the Nas's, eventually it became Jay-Z later on with his body of work. But like M, and like right now, like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, these are some guys I consider that's in my ilk of what I do. I feel like I'm different. I love the OGs like the E40s, guys like that that's on the West Coast, the Scarfaces down south. And I really love the new artists. I do. I'm not one of them guys. I don't like everything. I never like everything what everybody did in my time. But hey, let me take that back. In my time, I'm still here. It's still my time. You know what I mean? Right? So I love these guys. I love Billie Eilish. I love her and her brother with what they do. Uh I you know, I will admit that the genre of rock is kind of melting almost away. Like,
Kind of disappearing.
yeah, I'm like, man, I really love that distinction that you can come with something different. Something different isn't bad. It's different. You giving me a perspective that I need. I need for you to tell me your story. Don't tell me the script that was already given to us, by a corporation or something. And this is the reason why I named my album Innocent Born Guilty, because we all innocent, but we born guilty to a script that we was given. The sad truth for this new generation of artists that's coming through is they are taking on a script, right? And not necessarily writing their own narrative of what they can do, in hip hop. But it's open to everybody.
Is that idea behind the title of your album? Is there any religious connotation of that?
Uh
Innocent born guilty, like the concept of original sin or anything? I know you obviously read a lot and studied a lot while you were in prison. Is there any theological influence behind your work at all?
definitely. It's a lot of theological influence. So when you say innocent born guilty, we was pure. So that encompasses what the Bible was talking about. But the Bible, when you go and do the etymology again, sin, kat, in Hebrew means missing the mark, right? Everybody wasn't born missing the mark. Just because you born, you know, you missed the mark because of the society that you in. You in a play already in progress. So we need to let people know that all these things intersect. It can be two truths at the same time. Plato said a tree fall in the forest, it don't make a sound if nobody around. But it do make a sound, whether you around or not. So it's true. If we ain't around to see it, did it make a sound? I wasn't there, but it made a sound because that's law. So that's what the title encompasses, that type of subtle complexity. And I know that's an oxymoron, subtle complexities, but it definitely encompasses all that, because I wanted to touch everybody. I needed to try my best, attempt to empathize with everybody first, as my nod to society to say, hey, I sat here thinking about you more than you ever thought about me, or probably
Yeah.
even care about me right now. But as artists, this is our responsibility. I need to show society what they don't see. I need to make you feel what you didn't grew numb to, because it's for a particular meaning and purpose. This purpose is, let's look at injustice. Let's look at our system. Can we prevent another Leon Benson from going to prison for 25 years? Even though I was a drug dealer, I don't necessarily walk down that path and be like, I would have died in a hail of bullets. I would have been dead in the basement of a trap house. No, I could have very well done what a lot of my hip hop mentors done. I could have went somewhere else with it and went to the studio, found a different life, or just done something else. So I want to prevent that from happening. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, as an artist, is to make people empathize. I need you to be in my shoes. My words hit different now as an artist, because you know what I've been through. But if
Yeah.
I was the kid that didn't go through nothing, right? So my song should sound different. When I say some murder the world, right? I want society to question, like, what do you mean, man? You was innocent. Not why you want to murder the world. I said murder the world. I didn't say murder the earth. The world is a conscious. Let's murder that consciousness, man, that's allowing for people to go to prison falsely, that's allowing for people to be subjected to poverty, to discrimination because of their race, geographical birthplace, religion, preferences of sex, or whatever. Stop it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you get a
I
lot of that
think,
stuff.
yeah, no, I think, you mentioned Jay-Z as a later influence, and obviously a lot of his music talks about his early days dealing drugs and stuff like that, and like all the close calls that he had. And obviously I think you're kind of an unfortunate evolution of a story like his, where he could have just as easily ended up in a situation that you found yourself in, where maybe he gets targeted for something like you did and ends up not having the career that he had. And a lot of it is just wrong time, wrong place, bad luck, like Blaine mentioned earlier, a corrupt judicial system that puts you behind bars. I think like there's so many aspects of your story, yours particularly, Leon's story, that make you have an incredibly unique point of view, because there are plenty of rappers out there who come from the streets. There are plenty of rappers who have served prison time, but I can't think of a rapper that did both but was completely innocent for such a long sentence. I mean, 25 years of your life behind bars for something that and now the world knows you never did,
Ooh.
is a massive thing that like no amount of time or money or restitution can ever give back to you. Like that time, it sounds like you made a lot of the time you had in there with your art and with your studies and with your cat princess. But how do you reconcile that idea of 25 years of your life were unjustly taken from you? And that's time that we all live on this world once, whether you believe whatever you believe in. You as Leon live here one time, and at least a quarter of that time was spent in imprisonment for something that you were innocent of. And you're out now, and that's wonderful. But that time can never be given back to you? Do you look back on it as a, like, are basically what I'm asking is, are you filled with hate at the injustification of it? Or do you look back on it as, this was my path for whatever reason, and I did what I had to do while I was in there, and now I'm the person I am now because of what I went through, and I wouldn't be the Leon who's sitting down here talking to Tom and Blaine today if I didn't go through that? Or are you more, fuck this?
That's a great question, Tom. Well, let me interject this. Uh,
Mhm.
one of the artists that I was able to study and emulate was a gentleman by the name of Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl, he was a Jew that was in a concentration camp, during the final solution, with Hitler. But he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning.
Mhm.
And, I had bumped into this word called existentialism through reading W.E.B. Du Bois, and I just kept going, and I bumped into Viktor Frankl. I'm like, wow. So he's going through something that's worse than mine. Of course, you got death looming. Somebody on death row that's innocent got to be going through something more than me. So one thing what I got out of him was he was a logo therapist. So a meaning therapist. So what the ancients would call this is alchemy. So you transform your situations. My jail cell wasn't a jail cell. I made it into a workout area. Maybe it was a university. It was an art studio. And this is the same way you have to look back on your life. So you got to live as if you died before. And I did. The Leon Benson the world once knew, that guy is dead, man. Resurrected L. Bentley 448, right? It's probably some form of a trauma response as well. Well, I get to do this thing in my art therapy, and this art helped me not to break to pieces because I had something that was beautiful out of it. Out of struggle, you can liken my life to a dirty coal. A dirty coal sat there, it was nothing. But it becomes a diamond when it goes through pressure. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not kumbaya and I'm not trying to give you turn the other cheek and all that, because you get something in me. I'm gonna cuss people out. Say, motherfucker, you was wrong. Kick your ass. Some people, I'm still gonna kick their ass. I can't be around some people, kick their ass. I'm gonna express some things in my song. I'm gonna say, motherfucker, goddamn, shithead, every now and then. But I'm gonna have a positive message too, because I'm well-rounded. But that's how our life is. So when I look back, I have no regrets because I live life to the fullest. Through my art, I done everything I was supposed to do. I turned over every rock. I felt good. Just for me writing Murder the World, I probably didn't murder a prison guard, right? I wrote that song. So I feel good. This is life. In your struggle, you have to do these things. And to your perspective of being a rapper with this different story, and you mentioned Jay-Z, Sean Carter. Look, man, I'm Tupac if he didn't die. I'm Sean Carter if he got caught with that brick when he was down in the Virginias or whatnot, right? This is what it looked like. And the irony of all this, the day that I was released, March 9th, 2023, is the same day the legend Notorious B.I.G. was murdered. So for me, when I make this meaning out of that, it's what I get out of that. What is this saying? Why did I go through that? I didn't go through that to lay in a prison cell and die. Oh, I'm finna give y'all some diamonds of my life. I want to show you what you can do with the minimum amount of materials and resources. Because the biggest resource that we have and what we always had was within. Art then is a spirituality, right? Hell is for people who are, religion is for people who are afraid of hell. But spirituality is for people who've been through it. Some of our best artists are people that go through their hells, and everybody prison is equally the same. Even though you didn't go through my wrongful incarceration, I'm sure you can have pain, humility for that. But it depends on your experience, where you at in life, things like that, with what affects you. Therefore, me, myself, I look at everybody else prison. Like, man, what prison did you overcome? Was you molested? Were you raped? Were you a drug addict? Was somebody in your family killed unjustly? Or was you fighting cancer? What was your prison? Because the creativity then in that prison of struggle will create the art, the spirituality. So we got many different prisons. I just completed a big journey on this mountain only to be sitting at the bottom of another one. And you know what, guys? Man, I'm ready to push my stone, man, in such a way, right? So I can leave my mark on the walls and on the minds of people's hearts and souls, in the hopes that when I die, I can be like the greats. I can be a Picasso that somebody pushed my stone. I could be a Shakespeare that somebody say my words somewhere. You know, I can be all of these things. So this is what the prison experience done for me as an artist. And that whole vein, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I'm the realest rapper ever. But I come down off of my grandiose aspect and say I'm one of the realest rappers or artists ever, because everybody got their own story, and what they contribute to me helped me get to this point. And for that, I love them as well as I love all my ilk of artists with whatever you do, if it's the spoken word or written, if it's a percussion, if it's a sermon, right? If it's this podcast, you guys do a hell of a job. I'm stealing ideas from y'all. I was listening. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get that right there. I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna get me a podcast. When I get my podcast, I'm gonna do that. I like when I said that. You know what I mean?
Steal away,
Yeah.
please.
I mean,
I'm curious about your music in prison. I have a couple questions. One is when did you get in touch with Die Jim Crow, the record label that put out your EP? And I know you released your EP, you recorded it while you were in prison, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I personally only know, I'm definitely not an aficionado or anything, but I do love hip hop. And I know one album.
Known you long enough I think you could go ahead and put aficionado there on your hip hop.
Well, I know one artist, Draco the Ruler, came out with an album called "Thank You for Using GTL" a couple years ago, which he was in prison on an attempted murder charge, and he used the GTL phone system to clandestinely record a hip hop album. And they put it out while I was in prison. I've listened to it, and it's very lo-fi. It's literally just him rapping on the phone during the paid collect calls, which are like fucking $5 a minute or whatever bullshit it is in the correctional facility. But it's a very creative outlet. I thought the album, whatever you think of it as a work of art, I think more than anything, it's a really interesting artifact of a guy who's serving time and still making the time to do something creative and to get it out there while he's under this type of confinement. So what was that process like for you with Die Jim Crow, with the way you had to record this? Because I know you were up against certain limitations where you were not allowed to have direct contact with Die Jim Crow while you were in prison, right? There were a lot of impositions put on you to make your music. So what was that like? And I guess how did it show you the level of commitment that you had in yourself and your ability to go through this process, knowing that there were so many obstacles put against you that there wouldn't be for somebody on the outside who just wanted to make a hip hop album and, you know, book an engineer and go into a studio and start recording shit?
I think I first met Fury Young of
That Jim Crow?
Yeah, hey, I first met Fury Young of Die Jim Crow in 2014. A supporter of mine connected my people with him, and he contacted me. At the time, he wasn't recording anybody, and it was mostly about art. And he asked me to put together some art. So I drew these handkerchiefs, like 7 of them, and put them in his exhibit. They was different. It was like on handkerchiefs, and they all my art, visual art, had a theme of like some lyrics and poetry. And what I was able to do was, you know, record my me saying them, and I had it at the exhibit. So you heard me on the phone saying it. They had a little earplug on the exhibit. You can hear me saying it, and I provided a interpretation, an artist interpretation of everything, because I thought context was big. So we worked out like that. They never could come in. Here's my thing. Die Jim Crow had nothing to do with me recording. That was my own ambition. I was trying for years to do it. I didn't involve Die Jim Crow in talking to them with a cell phone because of the work I knew that he was doing and everything. So I was, you know, just trying to be a good friend, you know, not to do it. So what happened is, like in 16, when I recorded it, I recorded everything and I exported my files through the cell phone on an email, you know, to different producers, to my people out there first, and then my people were shopping them to producers, because I only can do my vocal, and I was rapping over industry beats, but I separated my vocal, the same vocal, and we were shopping with people to make me original beats to get it. So it was originally made like to protest my innocence. And I was ready to go down with the ship. I was tired, man. I was like, man, I don't even care. You can send me to lock up another 10 years, right? I'm going down on my shield, you know. And this was like the mentality of recording that. I had to duck and dodge a lot of things, you know, and you know, sometimes it's perfectly imperfect. I didn't get to actually get to listen to it the way I'm recording now. I'm up to like 30 songs now in the studio since I've been out, with the time that I have, and I'm figuring it out. I think I'm gonna stop at about 50 or 60, and I'm gonna start just putting things together and packaging it up. But it wasn't like that. I didn't have that time to really reflect on the stuff. I didn't have nobody to listen to it with me, like, hey man, you can do that. So for me, you know, I hear a lot of mistakes in the records. And then it was some mistakes that was made by, you know, me, you know, sending it out. Like I burnt my my doubles and ad libs into my original vocal. I'm like, oh man, I messed that up. You know what I mean? So it's like stuck in there. So it ain't separate, that we can mix and master it all the way together. And then it's even though it do sound good, it sound great, right? But the vocal, if the studio is a 10, that vocal would be like a 7. But it's still good, you know, it came out. So eventually when I got it done, so I got the project complete as late as 2020. So it took me 4 years with this project, going up and down, BS producers, everything like that. My sister, you know, which is the executive producer, you know, Queen Sis Valerie Buford, because she was doing her best to try to shop my stuff around and get the right stuff before we put out. Actually, I put out Truth Never Dies in 19 on my own. It ain't even mixed and mastered. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just getting it out there. Come on, put it out there. So by 2020, you know, Die Jim Crow had become a record company. He was going inside Fury, and the rest of the staff was going into other prisons. And I was still trying to work with him to try to come into Indiana prisons, but they just wouldn't let him in. But this was sitting on the table. My album was sitting on the table. And then I asked him, I'm like, hey man, why won't you just put out this album that I got? I mean, it was pretty easy. Everything was already there. Only thing we had to do was some little mix and mastering cues, things like that. I had already paid for my beats and everything. So he decided to do it. So as early as 2001, we was finna release, but something happened. I got the Racial Justice Clinic and the San Francisco School of Law professors and attorneys, right? Laura Bazelon, as well as Charlie Keever Nelson. They had, you know, took my case on. And, you know, from my mistakes of the past, because I really felt like I really had some real lawyers on my team at this point. And I communicated with them. I said, hey, I want to drop some music. They said, nah, don't do that. You got too much going on. We don't want to bring no attention to this and that. So we put it on the shelf until, you know, I finally got exonerated. So in a sense now, in retrospect, when I look back, because as an artist, this is not my best work. Man, I'm telling you, hey, all you rappers out there, speakers, you know I'm coming for you. Y'all, this is not my best work. Just in the time. It probably would have been that when it came out 7 years ago, you know what I mean? So as an artist, I seen the art of it, right? Even it took me a while. Fury convinced me. I was like, man, let's re-record this stuff. He's like, no, you recorded it while you was in it. This is special. Even with the imperfections, man, I'm telling you, man. And I was like, I'm talking about it was hard. It make me mad sometimes, you know, about it. But I'm accepting it more as I look at what's happening. That is art in its purest form. It was delivered, man, in that pressure cooker. You seen me ducking. Who does that? Right? So you got that spirit that's on that music. I was in there, you know, and you know that. And so we released it like 3 months after I was, you know, released. Right? Who does that? Like you get exonerated, then 90 days later, you got a debut album on all platforms, Innocent Born Guilty. And that's how it went. So Fury and Die Jim Crow, they absolutely had nothing to do with the recording of my album. I didn't pitch it to him until you know, 2020, when I was at my wit's end. And he was doing a lot of stuff too. Cause you know, cause you got to be considerate of people. If he's doing what he's doing, I'm not telling him everything I do. I'm like, hey man, I got a cell phone because I told you before that I had supporters cut me off. What you doing with a cell phone in there? I'm like, what? You know, I think I did talk to Fury once on the cell phone though. I think once. Not too many times. I think I did once and I decided not to do it no more. I don't think he really knew. He didn't ask. So I never said nothing, you know. I think he probably knew. He ain't no stupid dude. But I think he knew something like that. I can't fully remember. But
Yeah.
that's the story. That's the story of it. But the key thing too is having a team. So what I'm doing now that's very important, and what I would advise your listeners to do is to find a creative community, people who you can trust, people you like, how does that sound? Right? Because I am developing my sound. At this point, with what I've been doing, because I'm due to drop that album in January. But what I've been doing, I found the sound. I was like, damn, that's me. Right? I'm like, oh, I don't need to do this or that. I don't need auto-tune. Right? And then I'm going to give you a show live. No matter who you are, I'm a rock star. You know what I mean? I'm a real artist. It don't matter. When I rock the crowd in Queens, different people with different races, ages, and I felt bad because Fury mom was there. I was like, I'm like, Miss Young, please excuse me what I'm finna do, right? You know what I mean? And I go, I said, this is motherfucking New York City. This is my set. When you walk away, I need you to walk away with something. So I totally know what you're saying. Art does not overthink. What I do as an artist too, I feed my subconscious, right? I trust. See, I got a feeling. Remember in the movie, did you ever get to watch the movie James Brown, the James Brown story?
I don't think I have seen that movie.
It was a part in the movie where James Brown was doing what he wanted to do with the percussions. And one of his musicians said, man, it's off beat, man. It just don't work like that. And James Brown said, do it sound good? He said, yeah. He said, don't go against what God wants. And I take that same thing. I feel like as an artist, I'm not saying I'm a hit every time, but I do what my heart says. And I think I've been through so much and I studied. Like, I'm not just an artist, I'm a teacher. See, I taught poetry. You want to know your prose? I can give you every which way you want to do it. I can show you how to speak it. And going back to what Tom was talking about, the time, it's called the Parkinson's law. And I found that out later on what it was, but in my poetry class, we had 5 minutes to do board work. And out of this 5 minutes, we'd say a subject on abortion, love, war. And you write a poem in 5 minutes and you got to come up in front of the class and say it. Some of my greatest work, right? Less is more. And then I eventually found out it was a term called the Parkinson's law that says you can accomplish what you need to accomplish with the time that you have. So again, unlimitations is an enemy to art.
Thank you so much for coming on, Leon. This was a really wonderful conversation. And before we let you go, just let the people know, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at L_Bentley_448. You can find my music on all platforms as well. Look up Pound Baby Collective. It's my new clothing brand. You can find t-shirts, all sizes, colors, sweaters, everything. Please go support that. You can find my artist page at Die Jim Crow / Bentley 448, LELBENTLY 448, right? You can find me there and, look me up on YouTube. You can Google my case up under Leon Benson, exonerated. You will see when I walked out of prison. And please continue to support me and what I do. Also, I'm an activist too as well. I got a brother that's he's still incarcerated by the name of Demetrius Burks. He was a juvenile offender. He's not innocent, but he has been redeemed over 20 years. He's still there. I got a petition out, so go look up juvenile justice at change.org up under LB 448. And please sign that petition for this brother so we can help get him home.
Okay. Yeah, we'll throw all those links on the episode description as well for that and for all of your work and your handles and everything.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Leon. This was a real treasure to talk to you. It's been an absolute joy. You're a wonderful person, and I am glad to know you, sir.
Man, hey, equally as well. Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of an extended creative family and community. And we will be in touch because we are ever growing and expanding. Thank you too as well.
We will have you back on when the next album comes out.
And princess updates.
Yes.
You let us know about that cat.
We're gonna tag each episode from here on out with princess updates.
Free princess.
Hashtag free princess.
Free princess. We got to do that.
We got to do it.
We got to do it.
Then
man.
she becomes the mascot. We gotta let me market this.
I mean, that's your album artwork. That's your second album
face. Artwork. Yes, put her on the sweaters. We got a T-shirt line.
That's
free
dope.
Princess. Here we go. Yeah.
Wow. Her paws holding bars, just really sad. I'm glad you laughed at that because I wasn't sure how it was going to apply. So I'm glad that one went over.
No, because I looked at it in two ways with her paws holding bars. I was thinking about like lyric bars.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh man, hey.
Yeah, she needs her own song, title track, next album. Yeah.
Definitely.
Get those meows on there.
Yeah, we got to
get those meow samples.
Maybe a purr. Got to sample that.
Thank you so much, Leon.
I don't know.
Hey, thank y'all so much for having me.
All right, take care.
Hey, take care.
Wow, Tom, that was amazing.
It was.
How are you feeling after that episode?
I feel weirdly empowered by that guy. Like, what a hard life. And to come through it the way he has, to have done so much with the time that he has spent in and out of the prison system. I think it's really great to hear somebody with that perspective. It really also, I think, makes me appreciate a lot more, the things that I do have in this world. And I'm grateful to be where I'm at and grateful to have met Leon. He was a real joy to talk to.
Absolutely. I felt very, since we recorded the episode, felt very motivated. Like, if he can do that with the limited tools that he has, like, what am I doing? I've made some good paintings. I felt very like, let's do this.
Good.
Yeah.
Give Leon a percentage of any paintings you
royalties, baby.
Yeah. Thank you again to Leon. That was really special. We have some thank yous as always. Thank you to Cliff Bond for La Musica. That was music in Latvian. Thank you to Lincoln, our incredible producer, for all the hard work that he does. And do not forget, people, rate, review, subscribe, like, follow, share, talk, learn, read up about Leon Benson's story. Go to Spotify and follow L Bentley 448.
Yes.
The dog agrees.
Yes. The dog's off to follow right now.
Follow us on Instagram. Blaine is at Blaine_art. And I am at Bindi Tom Bindi.
Now, don't be afraid to request to follow either. Don't be put off and think he's private. I can't request. Right. He may not say yes, but he likes to be requested to follow. So just make his day.
And persona is the guy who's playing hard to get. Like,
sure. Yeah.
I just gotta act like I don't.
Totally.
If you do follow me, and I do bring you into the club and accept you, you're gonna see lots of videos of me playing guitar, a couple of videos of me playing drums, funny videos of me talking and doing weird bits.
It's a real treat for the eyes and ears.
And then obviously, thirst traps. Lots of thirst traps on there.
If you follow me, it's kind of boring.
It's really fucking boring.
It's really boring. So maybe you don't want to.
But I'm like, even though she has 20,000 followers, I just feel like she would know if I unfollowed her.
Yeah.
Especially now that we do this podcast.